and how to take action from a fourth dimensional perspective. So let's start. Okay, so we'll be going over Mars through the houses. I pretty much written some notes. It's going to be a pretty decent video. Pretty much I wrote my own notes down. You get what I'm saying? So this is not regurgitation. This is basically me just just talking about everything off the top of my head. You get what I'm saying? All right. So this video will be about why you struggle to take action and how you can take action from a fourth dimensional perspective, right? So in this video, we'll be going through Mars, through the houses. When I say through the houses, I mean through every aspect of life. In astrology, there's 12 aspects of life. You got individuality, your values, how you communicate and learn. You got your family. You got your creativity, your day-to-day life. You got your one-on-one relationships. You also have your desires or shared resources, traveling mentally, physically, and spiritually. We're gonna go over we're gonna go over your career. We're also gonna go over your associations, your goals. You get what I'm saying? And we're also gonna go over your dreams as well. But how to take action in each area of each area of your life. Specifically if you have these specific alignments, and I'm going through every alignment there is. So you might want to stay to the end of this video, just in case, so that you can understand why you struggle to take action and how to take action from a fourth dimensional perspective. So we're about to start now. Like I said, this video is about Mars, you know what I'm saying? And we're going through the areas of life in astrology. There's 12 areas of life, right? So I broke that down. I summed it up. So with that being said, Mars shapes your energy, your motivation, your confidence, your drive, your ambition, and how you take action in life. So that's what we're going over today. You know, this video will be a bunch of different fourth dimensional strategies and game plan, that can change things in your everyday life. And all of this is basically, a way to understand macro pattern recognition, right? How the sun comes around every day at the same time and is fixated. Well, the sun in astrology rules Leo. You get what I'm saying? And Leo is a fixed fire sign. So as above, so beneath or below. And it's basically just astrology just pretty much shows us how things work behind the scenes or internally and why you do stuff a certain way. You get what I'm saying? So we're gonna break this down. We're gonna go over every Mars alignment there is through every house. Um, each pretty much alignment is gonna be 30 seconds to 3 minutes. And yeah, we're gonna break down everything. So you might want to stay tuned. Comment your Mars place, and I'll give you a free reading below, just to pretty much stay engaged. And from there, I'm gonna give you guys just an example of my placements, so you will know how to play out in real life. All right. So how do I struggle to take action in life? You get what I'm saying? This is just going off my alignments. So I have Mars in Capricorn, and I have that in the 11th house in life. All right. So 11th house is pretty much fixated. That's an air sign. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. You get what I'm saying? Saturn rules, since I'm a Capricorn, it's not done with restriction. I look at it like Capricorn, since I'm a Capricorn, I'm the one that have to restrict or create limits. You get what I'm saying? Break limits and barriers or create them as well. And since the 11th area of house deals with your associations, your networks, your goals that you transmuted from dreams, and what I mean by that, your goals, your dreams that you gave a deadline to, and what I mean by giving a deadline to, since Saturn rules this house, and Saturn basically symbolizes time in our everyday life. With that being said, you get what I'm saying? You turn your since the 11th house is the dream house, the goal house, right? What you have to do is you have this idea, right? Which is like air. Air symbolizes ideas and thoughts, right? So Aquarius is fixated thoughts, so because it's a fixed air sign. You get what I'm saying? So I'm supposed to be fixated in how I communicate and how I do things. I have this in Capricorn in 11th house. So with that being said, when I was talking about taking a dream and turning it into a goal, how you guys do that is you give it a deadline. Since Saturn rules this house, Saturn symbolizes time, you want to give it a date. So let's say if you had a date to travel to a place, right? Like I had a date to travel to Ethiopia. So it was a thought in my head that I was fixated on at first. But what happened is, you get what I'm saying? Once you put a time on it, a deadline, this is how you turn that idea, that fixated idea, into reality. You get what I'm saying? That's the first step. But anyway, so I got Mars and Capricorn in the 11th house. So I'm supposed to build networks, associations, social networking, like what I'm doing now, broadcasting, being in new environments. You get what I'm saying? Also, turning dreams into goals by giving it a deadline. I'm also supposed to be unique inside of these. In any environment I go into, or any mastermind, right? Because 11th house also rules masterminding, and it rules group effort, stuff like this. You get what I'm saying? If Gemini is pretty much mutable air, Libra is pretty much cardinal air, so that's pushing out at you. You get what I'm saying? Initiating, and then Aquarius will be fixated, so it's fixed. So I'm supposed to be fixated in the way I communicate, fixated in the way I network. I'm supposed to have fixated goals that I'm trying to build on. You get what I'm saying? So, since I got Capricorn legacy, long term planning, career, how you're seen in public. So I'm supposed to utilize my network, right? I'm supposed to utilize my associations, my goals. I'm supposed to utilize all this to build a legacy, to also build things that's long term, and overall, this will help my career. So that's my placements. But how I would struggle, right? That's how I would accept with this alignment with Mars and Capricorn in 11th house. But how I struggle, I would do the opposite. Instead of me trying to network and associate with others and focus on goals and dreams, you get what I'm saying? Dreams and trying to goals, I would be more egotistical or worried about myself or trying to take up all the shine. That's because Leo is opposite of of the fifth house. I know not to do that. And this is just an example so that you guys can see how it works. You get what I'm saying? So we'll go over that today. You got Mars in every sign in every area of life. That's what we're gonna go over today. All right. And once again, Mars pretty much shapes your energy, your motivation, your passion, your confidence, your drive, your ambition, and how you take action in life in general. So let's go over everything. So if you got Mars and Earth, first we're gonna go through Mars and Earth through every area of life, right? So let's say if you got Mars and Earth in the first house, the first house the first house deals with your individuality, your personality, and how people see you as an individual. You get what I'm saying? So how would you struggle to take action? You would struggle to take action by worrying about other people, worrying about one-on-one relationships, worrying about, you get what I'm saying, how you relating to others. You'll you'll struggle with taking action if you simply just trying to relate to others, deal with relationships. You get what I'm saying? With things like that, that's how you would struggle with this alignment. But how you would take action, you get what I'm saying? You would be passionate, confident, you would take action in your personal life, in your everyday, you get life as an individual. If you worry about your own personality, your own individuality, and how you're seen, right? Or your personal life. You need to be taking action in your personal life. This is how you will break through and get breakthroughs. If you feeling unmotivated, just try to dial in on your personal life. If you can dial in on your personal life, you'll get that passion you need to take you to the next level. So that's how we're gonna do all the signs right there. You get what I'm saying? We're gonna do all the signs just like that. So I'm breaking down every astrology alignment there is. So I don't even have to talk about it no more. You get what I'm saying? I got like 10 to 20 more videos and then we finish. House. So the second house rules your values, not the world's. Your appreciation, not others. Your money, not others. Your resources, not others, right? So if you got Mars in this house, you so let me start right here. So with that being said, why would you struggle to take action? You would struggle anytime you're worried about shared resources. You struggle anytime you're worried about, you know, like having hidden desires when it comes to these shared resources, when it comes to these other people values, comes to other people appreciations, other people assets. This is why you how you would struggle in life. You get what I'm saying? So, but if you have Mars and Aries in the second house, you're supposed to take action and be passionate and motivated in area of life that deals with your passion. I mean your resources, you know, you, your appreciations, your values. So that's how you would pretty much do it. But strictly worry about your passions, your values. I mean, what you value, what you appreciate, and not others. Mentality with this. You were strictly worried about yours. And this is how you motivation, that passion, that energy that you need in this area of life. All right. So let's go. Let's keep going. So if you got Mars, if you got Mars and Aries in the third area of life, right? Gemini, it deals with the four COMMs: community, communication, commerce, commuting. All these things deal with the third house. So with that being said, if you include the conscious mind and also your siblings, you pretty much have a good idea of what the third area of life deals with. So with that being said, if you got Mars in Aries in the third house, why would you struggle to take action? You would struggle to take action anytime you're dealing with trying to expand outside of that community, bigger than that community. Anytime you're trying to expand mentally, physically, and spiritually, when it comes to, traveling too far out of which you're familiar with. Anytime it's dealing with trying to expand mentally outside of your community. Anytime like you're dealing with stuff that you can't learn in school when you're like in marketplaces and stuff like that. You have to pretty much be able to learn everything from a book or from, you get what I'm saying, some type of knowledge that you can learn from like a formal education. You get what I'm saying? Or just your community, things that you can learn in the marketplace, things that you can learn, you get what I'm saying, when you're communicating with others and understanding things from both sides. You need to be able to do that versus trying to go outside of a school, outside of just communication, outside of your marketplaces that you're familiar with. Anytime you try to expand too far, what you'll notice is you'll lose passion. It's not bad. You'll just lose a little bit of passion, lose a little bit of, you know, you'll lose a little bit of your way, and you'll have to figure out how you take action. Why you take action? You take action in the area of life that deals with your communication. You take action in your own environment that you know. You get what I'm saying? Your local environment. You take action in marketplaces that you know. You get what I'm saying? You take action when it deals with your own community. This is how you get that passion that you need, that drive in these areas of life. All right. So that's Mars areas in the third house. Don't forget to like, and subscribe. Let me see where we at. All right. All right. Mars and Aries in the fourth house. Okay. Cool. To take action when you got Mars and Aries in the fourth house. So anytime you're worried about your career, anytime that you're worried about your legacy, anytime that you're worried about how you're seen publicly, right? You'll notice that you just have a little bit less drive that you need to. You need to focus on your career, but how do you get that passion to do it? So with that being said, you gotta go tune into the opposite house, the fourth house. So you need to hang around your family. You need to deal with your roots, your upbringing. You need to deal with things that you're familiar with, and more like privacy brings that rage, that passion, and it gives you all the ideas that you need to take action in life. So that's Mars and Aries in the fourth house. All right. So Mars and Aries in the fifth house. All right. So if you got Mars and Earth in the the fifth house deals with creativity, leisure, casual dating, how you shine in this world, and it also deals with your future as well. All right. So why would you struggle if you have Mars and Earth in the fifth house? All right. So you struggle when you deal with your associations. It's strictly on, you get what I'm saying, your network. If you focus strictly on the goals you have and ignore how you supposed to be shining inside of these networks, inside of these associations. If you um in the area of life when it deals with being unique inside of a group, that's cool. You need to do that. However, you still need to focus on you still need to take action in the area of life that deals with creativity, that deals with expressing your creativities through arts and stuff like that. You need to focus on how you shine. You get what I'm saying? You're gonna be in the group, focus on being the person that's pretty much the leader. You get what I'm saying? The one that's the face of this group. You get what I'm saying? You also want to focus on, you also want to take action when it comes to, like I said, how you shine in life, or you need to be thinking about, like, if you need energy, if you need passion, you need to be thinking about creativity, your future kids, casual things like events, casual dating, things like this, and creativity like art and music and stuff. This is where you get all your passion at. If you got Mars and Earth in the sixth house, why would you struggle to take action? You would struggle to take action anytime you're too dreamy, anytime you're too like focused on illusions, anytime you're focused on sacrifice, anytime you're focused on things like this. This is when you notice that you lack that passion you need. But how do you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? Now, with that being said, you would take action in the area of life that deals with your day-to-day schedule, your day-to-day routines, your patterns, being on top of everything, being real cynical. Also focus on having like a job. Even if you're a CEO, be the worker of that CEO. Be an owner operator. You get what I'm saying? This is the area of life you would get passionate. So if you focus on this area of life, you would pretty much be able to get that passion you need so that you can focus on your dreams. You get what I'm saying? So Mars and Aries in the seventh house. Oh, let me go back. Let me go back because I forgot to do Leo. So Mars and Aries. No, I did Leo. What am I talking about? All right, Mars and Aries and Libra. So no, I'm tripping. Sorry about that, y'all. Mars and Aries in the seventh house. So if you got Mars and Aries in the seventh house, why would you struggle? You would struggle anytime you're worrying about your own individuality. Anytime you're worrying about how you look and how you're perceived by others individually. Anytime you're selfish, this is when you would notice that you would lack passion. But how do you regain that passion, that motivation you need to pretty much take action in life? You need to take action in an area of life that deals with teamwork, one-on-one relating, justice, law, and just relating to others in general. This is how you would get that passion you need to pretty much be your own individual and pretty much shape how you like how I'm breaking that down, breaking it down real smooth. You get what I'm saying? We got the penthouse readings going on. We in Bole, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. You get what I'm saying? So let's finish going over this. So we got if you got Mars and Aries in the eighth house, why would you struggle with life? You will struggle anytime you're trying to be too focused on your own resources. Anytime you're trying to focus on your values, anytime you're trying to focus on your money, this is where you notice you get a little bit less passion, than less passion that you need to take action in life. But how do you take action in life from a fourth dimensional perspective? You take action in life, when it by focusing on shared resources, shared values. You get what I'm saying? You focused on other people resources and how you can relate to that and manage them resources. You focused on shared appreciation. You focused on hidden desires or desires that you have in common with another person. And when y'all get together, you'll notice that you have more passion, you're more motivated, you have more um direction in life. And this is how you take action in life. If you got Mars and Aries in the ninth area of life, why would you struggle in general? You would struggle anytime you're trying to focus on a community. Anytime you're trying to focus on your local neighborhood. Anytime you're trying to take action when it comes to just communicating like everyday stuff you could just pretty much you already have an overstanding of. Anytime you're dealing with local marketplaces and trying to pretty much thrive in a local marketplace, you notice that you just have a little bit less passion than if you would just focus on expanding mentally, physically, and spiritually, traveling outside of the marketplaces. You get what I'm saying? Closing that book and taking action. Let's say if you wanted to learn how to fly a plane. The minute you close that book and actually get on the plane and fly, this is when you will feel that rage, that passion, that motivation that you need to take action in life. You get what I'm saying? So also, you may be passionate about philosophy and belief systems and stuff like that. So if you feel unmotivated, focus on this area of life. All right. Somebody commented, but I can't really see it. I'm gonna say it when more people comment, it's gonna go up. My bad, y'all. So if you got Mars and Aries in the 10th area of life, why would you struggle? Man, you would struggle anytime you're focused on family, culture, your roots, and what's familiar to you. How do you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective if you have this alignment? You need to be focused on taking action in the area of life that deals with your career, how you're seen publicly, your legacy, and think about long-term goals. You get what I'm saying? If you got Mars and Aries in the 11th area of life, why would you even struggle to take action in life? You would struggle anytime you're focused on taking up all the shine. Anytime you're focused on um you're just being creative and just trying to do stuff from a creative standpoint, or anytime you're focused on too much casual things like you're going out more than you're getting shit done, you get what I'm saying? You will notice that you're less motivated. You have less direction in life when you do that. Now, how do you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? You would take action by simply focusing on your network, who you associated with. Do y'all have the same goals in life? Also, are you a unique individual inside this group? You get what I'm saying? And pretty much being able to just bring ideas into reality by giving it deadlines and stuff like that. This is how you would get passionate about stuff. You get what I'm saying? Science projects, inventing things, doing mastermind groups with people. But you being an individual inside this group, this is how you would take action in life. So if you got Mars and Aries in the 12th area of life, why would you even struggle to take action in life? You would take action anytime you're trying to focus on day-to-day things, scheduling, trying to be too scheduley, on time, and trying to be too critical and cynical about things. You need to loosen up. If you loosen up, you'll notice that if you just focus on your dreams, even your illusions, what you need to sacrifice to get to that thing, them dreams, to make them real, and pretty much relating to others on a collective conscious, like from a collective conscious point of view, but an emotional collective conscious, you'll understand that this life will make you more passionate. It will make you more motivated. So that's Mars and Aries do all 12 areas of life. You get what I'm saying? Next up, we got Mars and Taurus do the 12 areas of life. All right. So let's break it down. So Taurus is your values, not the world's. Your appreciation, not others. Your money, not other people's money. You get what I'm saying? Your appreciations, not other people's appreciations. Right? So let's get that straight. Let's get that straight. That's what Taurus is. You get what I'm saying? That's what it symbolizes. So with that being said, it's like planting a seed and seeing it germinate, turn from a little seed, then you see that little leafling, the stem or whatever, when it germinate, that's Taurus. You seeing that one seed turn to something else and grow. This is what we call an appreciation, and that's the reason why the second house deals with just everyday money. It's just like investing. If you invest in Apple and that stock appreciate over time, you make more money. This is why this nature example I gave you with the seed and that the investment example I gave you with investment, that's what they have in common. Both appreciate over time. If you just take that energy and understand what it is, then with that being said, you'll understand Taurus in general. So if you got Mars in Taurus, you're supposed to pretty much um, have energy, motivation, confidence, drive, and take action on things that you appreciate, your values. You get what I'm saying? And your money. So we're gonna break this down through all 12 areas of life. All right. So if you got Mars in Taurus in the first area of life, why would you even struggle if you have this alignment? You would struggle anytime you're focused on other people appreciations on when you're dealing with one-on-one relationships. Anytime you focus on, you get what I'm saying, relating to others on a one-on-one basis, this is what knocks you off balance. You get what I'm saying? How would you take action with these alignments? You would simply worry about things that appreciate in your individual life. You would worry about things that have values in your individual life. You learn about how you're seen and how that's valuable individually. And that's how you will relate to others on a one-on-one basis. You get what I'm saying? If you got Mars and Taurus in the second area of life, the second area of life, this is the same alignment we're going over. So this is a good placement to have. If you got Mars and Taurus in the second house or the second area of life, why would you even struggle if this is the house that Taurus? This is Taurus house. It's like it's home here. You get what I'm saying? Why would you even struggle? You would struggle with this good alignment if you simply focus on other. If you focus and have passion and motivation when it comes to other people resources, other people appreciations, other people values, other people assets. Anytime you focus on others with this specific alignment, what you'll notice is that it knocks you off balance. What you need to be focused on and taking action on, you need to be taking action when it comes to your values. You need to be motivated when it comes to your values, your appreciations, and you need to be taking action on money, your assets. This is how you will gain that passion, that motivation that you need. All right. So Mars and Taurus in the third area of life. The third area of life deals with community, communication, commerce. You get what I'm saying, and commuting. All these deals with local, everyday, mundane stuff, but it's important because this also rules your conscious mind. So why would you even struggle in life with disalignment? You will struggle anytime you focus on expanding, anytime you focus on expanding your appreciation, your values, and your money outside of that community. Anytime you're focused on expanding uh, or commuting, anytime you find things that you value outside of that community, you get what I'm saying? I'm talking about like overseas or something, outside of your comfort zone, outside of what you know consciously, you'll understand that these things that you trying to value, it's cool to value these things, but you'll notice that you're less motivated. How do you gain that motivation you need to get to the next level? What you need to do is you need to focus on um you need to be motivated and taking action when it comes towards your community, communication, commuting, and local marketplaces. And just strengthening your conscious mind, reading books, going to schools, furthering your education, things like that. This is where you would get that passion, that motivation you need to go to the next area of life. Hey, what's up? What's up? I'm reading your comments now. So if you got Mars and Taurus in the fourth area of life, why would you even struggle in life? Why would you struggle to take action? You would struggle anytime you're focused on things that appreciate when it comes to your career. I know this sound messed up, but hear me out. Everybody alignments is different. So anytime you're focused on things that appreciate like career, legacy, or dealing with long-term goal setting, you gonna notice that that's cool to do. But what you need to do is you need to focus on um getting passion first because you'll get unmotivated. You'll get unmotivated. So with that being said, you need to pretty much figure out what's familiar to you, what culture you come from, your roots, your private life. Once you understand this, what happens is this is the area you take action in. Once you might get a business idea or something that's dealing with legacy or long-term goal just by being around your family, just by being around familiar environments, just by being in your own privacy. You get what I'm saying? Let me see. Warm greetings from the Arctic Circle popping up to randomly people scream to say, I love you. Yeah, man, it's all love too, man. Thanks for showing love. All right. So with that being said, if you got Mars and Taurus in the fifth area of life, why would you struggle to take action? You would struggle to take action anytime you're pretty much focusing on taking you associations, networks, being a part of groups and masterminds. This is where you would have less passion and motivation. If you do these things, you need to be taking up all the shine. If you're in a band, you need to be the one in the front singing. You need to be the one that's creating all the things and being the most creative. You need to focus on casual things. You need to take action when it comes to casual things, when it comes to um like you shining, using your creativity, when it comes to just through your kids or your future kids, or if you just think about future kids, you might even get motivated to pretty much do whatever you need to do. But anyway, if you're a part of an association or network, you need to be the one that's shining. So you would get that passion you need, that motivation you need by being creative and being the one that shines through your creativity. You get what I'm saying? Hey, bro, where you from? I'm from Maryland. All right, so Mars and Taurus. All right, so Mars and Taurus in the sixth area of life. So when it comes to Mars and Taurus in the sixth area of life, why would you struggle to take action? You would struggle to take action anytime you're too dreamy, anytime you're too aloof, anytime you're focusing on sacrifice, anytime you're trying to relate to others on an emotional basis. This is where you know you would get stuck. You would feel unmotivated. How do you get back motivated? Right? Oh, it lags. Damn, bro, it's lagging. Hopefully, this shit not lagging. Hey, put a one in the chat if this is lagging. Put a two in the chat if it's not lagging. Is it lagging? Man, I'm gonna finish this video regardless. If it's lagging, then I guess y'all won't be getting this video because I'm only doing this once and it's off the top. So I don't care about the troll. I literally won't read the comments. But if you try and help, I appreciate it. Let me see if it's lagging real quick. Did y'all press one? Press a one if it's lagging, two if it's not. Don't worry, I'll help you. Poor man. Give me 1 second. Something dropped. 1 second. Give me 1 second, y'all. Shit is fucking up. 1 second. You see? Don't have to give him no information. This gonna be like fucking evergreen content. I'm making this shit once. I'm not making it more. We're going over every placement, every alignment, and then we done. Y'all can book consultations if y'all want, but if not, this should be for my kids. So that's how we're gonna rock and roll. Cause we got bigger fish to fry. Yeah, we got bigger fish to fry. All right, let's see if that's set up appropriately. All right, yeah, my bad, y'all. This shit keep dropping. I'll get it right though. Let me see. Y'all should have commented and see if it was lagging or not. You get what I'm saying? Y'all ain't comment that. Y'all just having your own conversations. But I don't care, bro. If it's lagging, it's lagging. Nothing I can do about it. I tried to be in the best area, all of that. But we're about to start back right now. Give me 1 second. Come on. All right, we good. We good. All right. So, in Taurus. And the seventh, I'm gonna just start back. I already said the sixth. I'm not going back. So Mars and Taurus in the seventh area of life. Why would you struggle to take action in this area of life? Right? With this alignment, why would you struggle? You struggle anytime you're focused on individuality. Anytime you're focused on things that appreciate in your own life. Anytime how your image and how the people see you, how they will appreciate or how they would see you as valuable. This is where you would notice that you get less passionate. However, you get what I'm saying? Anytime, no, let me just say it like this. Anytime you're focused on your own individual self and you're being selfish and you think that's going to appreciate or that's going to get you something of value, this is where you would get less passion. But how do you unlock that? How do you get the key and unlock your potential, you know, to, to get unlimited motivation? What you would do is you would simply focus on the area of life that deals with one-on-one relating to others on a one-on-one basis. Law, when it deals with justice, fairness, when you're dealing with linguistics, you're dealing with relating to others on a one-on-one basis, and you're taking action in this area of life, you'll notice that you can get unlimited passion. You might be passionate when it comes to working with other people on a one-on-one basis. So that's how this will pretty much play out. So if you got Mars and Taurus in the eighth area of life, why would you struggle? Why would you struggle, and how you could take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? All right. So with that being said, you will struggle anytime you're focusing on your own resources, your own assets, your own values, your own appreciation. You don't want to do that when you need motivation, when you need that passion. What you need to do is you need to focus on shared resources. You need to focus on taking action when it comes to, you know, other people values. You get what I'm saying? Other people resources, other people assets. Anytime you focus on this, what you'll notice is that you get that unlimited passion you need. You'll understand your desires more and what you need to operate from behind the scenes or just as a group with that shared resource. You get what I'm saying? So if you got Mars and Taurus in the ninth area of life, why would you struggle in life with these alignments? You will struggle anytime you're focused on things that appreciate in your community, your everyday community. When you're trying to think, when you think you're talking about something valuable to somebody else and it's just everyday mundane talk, you'll notice that you're less passionate. When you try to focus on local marketplaces and make money in local marketplaces, or commute locally, maybe a local truck driver, this is when you'll notice that you're less passionate. But how do you get that unlimited motivation, that unlimited passion you need? You need to focus on things that you appreciate when it comes to traveling mentally, physically, and spiritually. You need to also focus on things that you can't learn in school, things you can't just regurgitate out of a book. That you have to close the book and go on your own travel. Do that travel, you'll be able to turn that knowledge you got in that book to wisdom. You get what I'm saying? And this would appreciate over time. So this is how you would get that. Also, you may be motivated and passionate when it comes to philosophy and your beliefs and how they appreciate. You get what I'm saying? All right. So if you got Mars and Taurus in the 10th area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you action from a fourth dimensional perspective? All right. So you would struggle anytime you're dealing trying to be too private. Anytime you're just trying to be all snuggled up under your family. Anytime you're just stuck in your own roots, your own upbringing and how things relate to you, then you will notice that you are less passionate. But if you strictly just focus on your career, if you focus on action when it comes to your career, if you take action when it comes to your long-term goals, building them from scratch, and also focusing on legacy building, you'll get that unlimited passion you need to go to the next level. Um, but yeah, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and then also comment your Mars placement, and I'll give you a free reading. All right. So if you got Mars and Taurus in the 11th area of life, why would you struggle to take action, and how you could take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? All right. So with that being said, you will struggle anytime you're focusing on taking up all the shine. Anytime you're focusing on being the one that one sun that's blocking out all the other stars. You get what I'm saying? This is when you'll notice that you're less passionate. Anytime you're trying to be too creative instead of set goals and build stuff like an architect, like a scientist, you'll realize that you're less motivated, less passionate. Anytime that you don't have an association, you don't have a group, you don't have things like uh goals that you've been transmuted from a dream by giving them a deadline, you'll notice that you're less passionate. You need to have goals constantly. You need to be creating stuff, but from like a scientist, architect mentality, or from an engineer perspective. This is how you would get that unlimited passion you need. So if you got Mars and Taurus in the 12th area of life, with that being said, if you got Mars and Taurus in the 12th area of life, why would you struggle? Why would you struggle? And how you can take action from a fourth dimensional perspective. You would struggle anytime you're focusing on being too cynical and you think that's going to appreciate over time. Being on time, you think that's going to be something. Having a job, you get what I'm saying? If you just focus on everyday things that you have to just be on the same pattern, you're not going to be as passionate, more as motivated as you need to be if you're focused as you need to be if you focus on the area of life that deals with your own dreams, not your bosses. That deals with your own schedule. That deals with your goals. If you deal with things like your network instead of being up under a network or up under like a job or up under someone else's schedule, or just being too cynical, you'll notice that you're less passionate when you're stuck in these constant patterns. You need to be able to completely change your schedule anytime. You get what I'm saying? This is how you would feel like you would have breathing room to get that motivation you need to focus on your dreams. All right, so that's Mars and Taurus. Do all 12 areas of life. Now we're going to move to Mars and Gemini. Do all 12 areas of life. All right. So with that being said, Gemini is basically mutable air. You get what I'm saying? That's being able to step outside of something and be an observer, seeing things from both sides. In the Bible, this will be like Sodom and Gomorrah. You get what I'm saying? Be seeing both sides of something This is the example of your mind hovering, and you're saying you're like, you're your body, but your mind, you always can see both sides of something. Gemini also rules your conscious mind. This is why it rules your conscious mind. So with that being said, being able to pretty much see both sides of things when it comes to your community, how you communicate, local marketplaces, and commuting locally. This is how you would this is the energy that Gemini specialize in. You get what I'm saying? Mercury is also the closest planet to Earth. So with that being said, you kind of can get thoughts faster than the average person. You get what I'm saying? But this, we're talking about motivation, passion, confidence, and how you should take area in life. So we're about to go through Mars and Gemini through the 12 areas of life. You get what I'm saying? So Mars and Gemini in the first area, why would you struggle when it comes to taking action, and how you could take action from a fourth dimensional perspective. You get what I'm saying? Anytime you focus on like relating on a one-on-one basis, anytime you're focused on um uh relationships, anytime you focus on things that deals with like fairness, like you're doing stuff out of fairness completely, you will notice that you're less motivated. This is okay to do. You get what I'm saying? You can still do that, but you need to be focusing on your own life, your individuality, and you need to be focusing on how you're seen on a one-on-one basis. You get what I'm saying? How you're seen as an individual, how you come across. And you need to be coming across as an individual in your communities when you commute, in local marketplaces. And when it comes to how you express your conscious mind, go ahead and double tap that screen and also comment your alignments. I'll give you a free reading as well, but you gotta like. Don't forget to like. All right. Mars and Gemini in the second area of life. Why would you struggle and how to take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle anytime you focus on other people assets, other people resources, other people values. Anytime you focus on that shit and you're trying to build a community around that shit, anytime you're trying to build a market or a marketplace around this community or around the things you consciously know, you're gonna feel less motivated. I'm gonna just tell you that now. But how do you get that fountain of youth, that unlimited motivation you need? You need to focus on, you get what I'm saying, your values when it comes, your appreciation, your money. You get what I'm saying? When it comes to your in marketplaces, when it comes to your conscious mind, your values, what you appreciate, when it comes to commuting, you get what I'm saying? Understanding where you want to commute to, where you want to be at in familiar places. Understanding this, you get what I'm saying? And taking action in these area of life, this will make you more money. This would add to your values. You get what I'm saying? This will help you appreciate more. But in total, this would make you more motivated and more passionate in this area of life. All right, so if you got Mars and Gemini in the third area of life, and this is the Gemini house. This is Mercury house. So with that being said, why would you struggle with this alignment? You would struggle anytime you focusing on expanding mentally, physically, and spiritually outside of what you know consciously, outside of that community you're familiar with, outside of that marketplace that you already mastered mentally. Anytime you focus on try to expand and fill big shoes that you can't really fit, you get what I'm saying? You have to make all that expansive stuff that's out of reach conscious first, and then it's in that third house. You get what I'm saying? So what you want to do is you want to take action when it comes to your community, what you know consciously, communication. You want to master that, read books, go through school, you know, rank up in these, and when it comes to like education and formal education, you want to pretty much understand where things at in your local environment, and this will help you become more passionate, more motivated to get things done. You get what I'm saying? All right. So if you got Mars and Gemini in the fourth area of life, why would you struggle to take action? You would struggle to take action anytime you're trying to focus on building a community around your legacy, anytime you're focusing on marketplaces, when it comes to like having this as your career, you get what I'm saying? Or anytime you're focusing on your public image, you'll notice that you're less motivated. This is not bad, but you have Mars and Gemini in the fourth house. You get your motivation from your private life, not your public life. You get your motivation from your family and your roots, not a career family, not your work, not stuff like that. You get all your passion from things you're familiar with in your community, in your marketplace, in your local travels. You know, so that's how you would get that unlimited motivation you need. So if you got Mars and Gemini in the fifth area of life, why would you struggle to take action? You would struggle to take action anytime you're focusing on or trying to take action in groups, anytime you're trying to build a network, anytime you're trying to do things and all shine together. This won't work with them alignments. What you got to do, you have to focus on, you have to really try to focus on being the sun. You know how the sun shine and it gets rid of all the stars. You can't see the stars during the day. Since the fifth house is ruled by the sun as well, you need to play that out in real life. You need to take up all the shine. You need to use creative abilities rather than focus on building stuff from like a scientific, logical standpoint. You need to focus on being like easygoing and down to earth and be able to go to casual events, not focus on things that's dealing with like, you get what I'm saying, goals all the time and just having to plan. All this stuff will kind of make you less motivated. You need to do that regardless, but it would be best if you literally um got that passion first and then build on your goals. You get what I'm saying? And if you're gonna do that, do it in a creative way. If you're gonna be a part of a group or if you're gonna share things, be doing it in a creative way. So if you got Mars, so hold on. So if you got Mars and Gemini in the sixth area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how can you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle, you would struggle anytime you're focusing on being too dreamy. Anytime you're trying to take action from like just being off of just illusions. Anytime you're trying to get motivated from dreams, illusions. Anytime you're trying to, anytime you're focusing um what you need to sacrifice. Anytime you're focused on relating to people when it comes to the collective consciousness, but from an emotional standpoint, you'll notice that you are less motivated. But how do you get more motivated? You get more motivated by simply coming up with your own schedule, taking action when it comes to being more organized, take action when it comes to your habits, your eating habits, your things that you could touch and do every day at a specific time. This how you would get that motivation you need. You get what I'm saying? You have to have your own schedule that you can stick to and be cynical and be able to come up with a routine and a healthy pattern and a schedule that you could do everything you need to do to focus on your dreams. I mean your goals. You get what I'm saying? So if you got Mars and Gemini, right, in the seventh area of life, why would you struggle and how would you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? You get what I'm saying? So with that being said, you would struggle anytime you're focusing on individuality, how you're seen, how others, how others perceive you. If you just focus on that area of life. Also, when it comes to your personality. So if you're trying to lose your identity inside of a community, inside of a marketplace, inside of, you get what I'm saying, your local environment, this is where you would be less motivated. But how do you get that unlimited motivation? You need to focus on, building and relating to others consciously when it comes to one-on-one relationships, justice, law, fairness. You need to take action when it comes to, justice, law, fairness, relationships, and things like that. This is the area of life that you can pretty much get that unlimited passion, and you'll find these relationships or things that you can relate to in your community. You'll find people that think similar to you consciously. You'll find people maybe at school that you can relate to on a one-on-one basis. But this is how you would get that motivation. You would get it in ideas when it comes to your relating to people in your community, your local marketplace, commuting. You get what I'm saying? Through your siblings, just being able to relate to these things on a one-on-one basis in these areas of life, these environments, or these states of mind, you'll get that motivation you need. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget to like the video and also subscribe. We got these every day. Also, we work out as well. So earlier we had 850 push-ups nonstop. But what I mean by nonstop when it comes to push-ups, um, I do, instead of resting, I'll do another workout and then I'll get right back into the push-ups. But when I do the sit-ups, like when I did it the day before the day before yesterday, I did 1,000 sit-ups straight nonstop, and that's complete nonstop. So we got pretty much stuff everybody can do. Work out their mind and body. That's what this channel about. Like and subscribe. You get what I'm saying? So all right. So if you got Mars and Gemini in the eighth area of life, why would you struggle to take action, and how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle anytime you're focusing on your own resources, your own values, your own appreciation. You get what I'm saying? Your own money. This is where you would notice that you'll struggle at. I know it sounds redundant, and I know it sounds like it don't make sense, but people got different alignments for a reason. Now, with that being said, how you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective, knowing that you need to take action when it comes to um, shared resources, shared appreciation, shared values, shared assets, desires in your community. You get what I'm saying? What's your community desires? You get what I'm saying? Having a shared conscious mind with other people, having shared having you get what I'm saying? Having like if it's a marketplace, you can share with others, or share like you get what I'm saying? Sharing resources in the marketplace, things like that. Um, if you could if you could share in these areas of life, in this area of life, what you'll notice is this is how you get passionate. You need to be able to relate to others in your community, commuting, commerce, and communication. The minute you're able to do that and have the same desires as these people you're sharing with, this is how you get that motivation you need. So Mars and Gemini and the ninth area of life. Why would you struggle when it comes to taking action? And also, how would you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle anytime you're focusing on day-to-day routine, day-to-day conversations, day-to-day travel, local travel, just stuff that you can learn in books or through school or regurgitating. This is where you will have be less passionate about. But anytime you're able to expand outside of that community, expand outside of what you know consciously, expand outside of the communication style that you're familiar with, but still relate to these things and make it a part of your conscious mind. With that being said, this is how you get that passion and motivation. So let's say if you got Mars and Gemini in the 10th area of life, why would you struggle with this alignment? And also, how to take action from a fourth dimensional perspective. You will struggle anytime you focus on um, what you familiar with, family. Anytime you're focusing on culture, roots, this is when you feel like you have less motivation. But how do you get that motivation with Mars and Gemini in the tenth house? You would get that motivation by focusing on your career and how your family and what you're familiar with could build your career. You will focus on long-term goals and how your long-term goals deals with your family, your community, your conscious mind. You get what I'm saying? With your local environment, commerce, and communication. You'll learn how to do these things from a career aspect, but you need to not focus on family or what you're familiar with when you're doing these things. Instead, make it a part of your why. You get what I'm saying? So if you got Mars and Gemini in the 11th area of life, why you struggle and how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? If you got Mars and Gemini in the 11th area of life, you will struggle anytime you try in your community. If you're trying to overshine others when it comes to how you think consciously, if you try to overshine when it comes to, if you only trying to focus on like casual things and going out without having like limits and restrictions on work, business, and also casual things, you have to make sure that you have these things in order. You can't just exalt yourself and do fun things all the time with this alignment. If you got Mars and Gemini in the 11th house, you need to be focused on networks, taking action inside of that network. Inside of, you need to be taking action on social networks, social media. You need to be turning your dreams into goals by giving them a deadline within your community, within your local environment, within just building goals that you came up from scratch mentally, and also inside of marketplaces. This is where you could thrive as well. um, but building a network inside of that marketplace is where you would pretty much thrive and get that passion you need. If you got Mars and Gemini in the 12th area of life, why would you struggle to take action and how you can execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? You will struggle anytime you're focusing on day-to-day activity, having a schedule that's too like cynical, that's too like routine, doing the same schedule over and over again, working a mundane everyday job, having the same patterns, focusing on just habits all the time and being in your head. That's cool. You need to be in tip top health at all times. You need to. What I'm saying is focus on that too, but to get passion, what you need to do is you need to focus on what you need to focus on your dreams, not working for others and building that dream. You need to be focused on your schedule, and because you need your own schedule to create your dreams. You even need to be focusing on illusions you have for your community, for the environment you have. Because you need to be in a dream state. You need to be able to daydream about what you're going to do and put that in your conscious mind. So that's just not a dream. You remember it. It's like a daydream. It's not like a sleep dream. It's a thought that you have in your head that's playing out in video format. This is like a daydream. So now you bring that little dream to your conscious mind, and this is how you would get that passion. You know what I'm saying? You would get that passion and that motivation that you need to focus on community, communication, commerce, and commuting locally and knowing where things at to make them dreams come true. All right. So don't forget to like the video. You said you Habisha. No, no, no. I'm American, bro. Um, but I love Ethiopia also. That's why I moved here. So yeah, I know a few Amharic. So I know how you say thank you here. I'm gonna say Ganalu. How you say how much Sentinel. Um, how you say roll the window up because it's dust. I know that's random. You say Mascaton Ziga. I know like and it's 1, 3, just the numbers, just basic stuff. How to get around, how to negotiate, shit like that. Um, shit like that. Hi Salam. You got Malcolm Ken. Have a good day. Um, Dinane. Um, what else? Just a few different languages. I'm gonna stay on topic of this video. All right. All right. So now we got the zodiac sign Cancer, like Mars in Cancer, through the 12 areas of life. So we got Mars and Cancer through the 12 areas of life. All right, so I'm gonna run through this one. All right. So if you got Mars and Cancer in the first house, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? You would struggle anytime you're focusing on relating, being familiar, and trying to build on a one-on-one basis to with others. If you're just focused on fairness and trying to relate to that and doing shit just off of doing shit based off of just being equal to others, this is where you would pretty much get less motivation. However, you need to pretty much focus on what you're familiar with as an individual, your own private life, how you come across um from from other people's standpoint, and you need to come across as a family person, as someone who is familiar, as someone who is private. This is how you would get that passion you need, that motivation you need. So if you got Mars in Cancer in the second area of life, why would you struggle, and how to execute from a fourth dimensional perspective so that you can have motivation, unlimited motivation you need. So you would struggle anytime you're focusing on other people assets, other people resources, other people appreciations, other people values, and trying to make that familiar. You get what I'm saying? What you got to do is you have to focus on your own appreciations that you're familiar with, your own values, your own assets that you're familiar with, your own money. You know what I'm saying? That you are familiar with. That's going to benefit your family. You get what I'm saying? So if you got Mars and Gemini in the third area of life, why would you struggle to take action and how to take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? Now, you would struggle anytime you're focusing on expanding or traveling mentally, physically, and spiritually away from your family, away from what you're familiar with, away from your culture. But how do you get that unlimited motivation? You get unlimited motivation by building a community or being a part of a community that you're with, or that your family that's a part of, or that resembles your upbringing. You know what I'm saying? So if you got Mars in Cancer in the fourth area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? All right. So if you got if you got this alignment, with that being said, you would struggle anytime you're focused on your career, strictly just focusing on your career. Anytime you're focused on long term legacy, anytime you're focusing on things that's 10 plus years. I know this sound like I'm saying stuff that's not right, but everybody have different alignments. Oh, I'm not talking nonstop. I gotta go through this, then I read the comments after, bro. This video gonna be long. We almost halfway done though. But I love interacting. Remember, the video said like the video in the description. It said like the video and leave your natal chart. Leave your where you have Mars at, and I will break it down. That's how I'm interacting. You get what I'm saying? Other than that, if y'all got questions, ask it and I'll answer it. You get what I'm saying? So just ask it. Like the video too, so it can train the algorithm to recommend it to others. All right, so if you got yeah, if you got Mars and Cancer in the fourth area of life, anytime you focus on career, long-term goals that you're trying to be familiar with or build privately, this is when you're gonna have less motivation. I know it sounds backwards. This is the truth. But how do you get that unlimited motivation and execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? What you have to do is you have to focus on your own family. You have to take action within your own bloodline, what you familiar with, how you was raised, your own upbringing. You get what I'm saying? And then once you're able to do that, you'll get the motivation and passion you need to make a career out of that. Maybe you become a family lawyer. Maybe you focus on building your family legacy. But you get that motivation from your private life, from what you're familiar with. Um, so if you got Mars and Cancer, and why would you struggle when it comes to taking action and how you can execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle anytime you're trying to focus on being associated with others and trying to be familiar in a network or association or on social media. These things, it's okay to do, but when you need passion and motivation, you want to strictly focus on your own creativity, how you shine. If you in a group, make sure you shine within that group. You want to focus on your casual things and doing things based on like leisure and activity and casualness. You don't want to be all strict like a scientist and having a checklist and just writing off stuff after you check stuff as you complete on your stuff on your to-do list. What you want to do is you want to just focus on how you shine, your creativity, and these things that's familiar with you. You might get ideas from your family or your sibling. I mean, not your siblings, your kids, or family. I mean, family ideas that you could do together with your kids. These things motivate you. Um, just in general, this might motivate you as well. But if you need motivation in this area of life, do something that's familiar to you, casually, leisurely. You know what I'm saying? And nurture these things. That's another thing we're about to get into. So, Mars and Cancer in the sixth area of life. Why would you struggle to take action, and how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle anytime you're too dreamy. You're trying to nurture dreams. You're trying to like nurture illusions. You're trying to sacrifice. You're trying to be all sacrificial with things you relate to. You're trying to connect with people and relate to people from an emotional standpoint, even if it's dealing with trauma, like good trauma or bad trauma. This is when you will notice that you're less motivated. However, when you can actually come up with your own schedule that you're familiar with, that's similar to your upbringing and how your family raised you, when you can dial down your eating habits, your workout habits, and get your family on point and get things that's familiar to you, like on schedule, this is how you get your that unlimited motivation you need to get to the next level. Go, hey, all four of y'all, go ahead and man. Like, it's free. I don't want no donations. Just and I'm breaking down every alignment. So, all right. So if you got Mars and Cancer in the seventh area of life, why would you struggle to take action, and how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? You will struggle anytime you're focused on things that you relate to individually, things that you can relate you're focusing on how you come across, and if you're relating to life, this is what you're going to notice. You're going to notice that you're less motivated than if you would to pay attention to relating to others, nurturing your relationships, nurturing just nurturing things when it comes to relating to others on a one-on-one basis. You take action when it comes to understanding laws that you're familiar with, fairness, justice. You get what I'm saying? And being, like I said, being able to nurture your relationships instead of just focusing on yourself as an individual. This is how you would get that passion you need in this area of life. So if you got Mars and Cancer in the eighth area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you execute and solve this problem? You get what I'm saying? So you will struggle anytime you're focusing on your own resources, anytime you're trying to nurture your own garden, anytime you're trying to focus on things that's relative to you and you think that's the only thing that's valuable in the world. This is when you'll be less motivated. However, how do you get that unlimited source of motivation and confidence you need to go to the next level? You have to nurture your shared resources. Let's say if you shared a garden or a land with someone, instead of you focusing on your own land, if you focus on land that all you guys own and be able to nurture this would be that alignment. Mars in Cancer in the eighth house. You know what I'm saying? So shared resources, shared appreciation, shared values, shared assets, shared desires. If you're able to nurture these things from behind the scenes, and with that being said, you'll pretty much be able to get that motivation and passion you need. All right. So if you got Mars in Cancer in the ninth area of life, why would you struggle to take action, and how to execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? So with that being said, you will struggle anytime you're trying to nurture some local community. If you're trying to relate to others when it comes to everyday conversation, outside stuff that's in books and regurgitated information, you're gonna feel less motivated in that community or that group or that person that's trying to talk to you and talking about everything that's mundane. If you're just stuck in one location in your local environment, you get what I'm saying? This is when you'll feel less passionate, less motivated. How do you get that unlimited motivation you need? You need to be able to expand and nurture yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. You need to be able to travel outside of that environment. Take your family outside. You need to become familiar with the things that's outside of these environments that you was also other places like foreign places, right, remind you of your own culture or your own upbringing. And this is how you would pretty much get that passion you need in life. So if you got Mars and Cancer if in the 10th area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle anytime you're focusing on things that you're familiar with, anytime you're focusing on nurturing things that don't deal with your career, that don't deal with legacy or long term building, you will notice that you're less passionate. But how do you get that unlimited passion you need? You focus on your career, focus on your goals, focus on building from scratch. To get that passion you need, that will help your family. And you nurture these things. You get what I'm saying? This is what you'll be seen for eventually. And then from there, this will give you that motivation. Like, you know, um, so if you got Mars and Cancer in the 11th area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle anytime you're focusing on taking up all the shine. If you're trying to be too creative instead of too strategic, if you're trying to be too casual and going out without limiting yourself, and understanding you have to focus on your goals. That was a dream at one point, but you gave it a deadline. Saturn rules 11th house. You gave it a deadline, a date. So now it's a part of the reality, your everyday third dimensional life. Now, with that being said, once you do that, you have to understand that you can't really be doing stuff when you want all casual. You have to nurture these ideas. You have to nurture these associations. You have to nurture your social network, your networking. You have to nurture these things. And you have to be able to make these your network something that's familiar with how you operate and your upbringing and what you familiar and what's relative to you. That's how you would get motivated in this area of life. So if you got Mars and Cancer in the 12th area of life, how would why would you struggle to take action and how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? Now, with that being said, you would struggle anytime you're trying to be too on point when it comes to your schedule, your habits, working jobs for other people instead of building your own dreams. You're building other people's dreams. You get what I'm saying? Anytime you're focusing on being too cynical, planny, you're too logical, this is when you'll pretty much know that you have less motivation. How do you get more motivation with this alignment? You will focus on your dreams, not others. You will focus on even your illusions. You will focus on turning bad trauma to good trauma. You would also focus on things you need to sacrifice to make your dreams come true. And you will also take action when it comes to nurturing the collective from an emotional standpoint. So that's Cancer through the 12 hours of life. Now let's go to Mars and Leo through the 12 hours of life. So if you got Mars and Leo, right? So with that being said, I'm gonna break Leo down really quick. So Mars and Leo. Leo is your creativity, how you shine, leisure things, casual things. You get what I'm saying? Fun things. It also deals with your future kids, and just expressing yourself from a creative standpoint. So if you got Mars in this area, if you got Mars in this sign, this zodiac placement. If you got this sign, what you'll do is the way you go about it is you have to be creative. You have to be leisurely. You have to be casual. You can't be too like logical with this alignment. Um, you have to focus on shining and using your creativity to shine. Once you get the hang of how the energies is, then you go through the 12 areas of life, and based on what area of life you have this in, this is how you get that motivation, that passion, that confidence, that shine that you need, right? So, um, So Mars and Leo in the first area of life. Why are you struggling to take action? And how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? You struggle anytime you focus on relating to people on a one-on-one basis, the way you shine. You focusing on fairness, you just doing stuff out of fairness, you just doing stuff to just be just. You're just doing stuff to be equal to others. This is when you notice you are off balance. However, in order for you to shine, in order for you to be your own creative self, you have to focus on your own individuality. You have to take action when it comes to your life. You have to focus on shining. And when other people see you, they be like, wow, it's something about this person that he really glow. You get what I'm saying? So focus on that and you'll get that unlimited motivation. All right. So if you got Mars, hold on, what that say? Alignment. What? Oh, I'm talking about astrology, bro. If you don't know what I'm talking about, book a consultation call. Trust me, I can break everything down to, help you pretty much calibrate. Or you could just ask ChatGPT. I'm just here to deliver the information. All right, so if you got Mars in Leo in the second area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And also, how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? You will struggle anytime you're trying to shine light on other people's resources, appreciations, values, assets, and actually just trying to uncover and shine light on other people's hidden desires. This will pretty much makes you less passionate. You need to pretty much shine light on your own seeds, your own appreciation, so they can grow over time, similar to how the sun shines on vegetation and it grows over time. So if you got Mars and Leo in the third area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle anytime you're trying to shine outside of your local community. You're trying to expand mentally, physically, and spiritually outside of what you're familiar with as far as your mind. You're trying to shine in areas that deals with expanding outside of your local community. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to pretty much communicate in a philosophical way instead of a more logical, conscious way. Anytime you try to shine in them areas instead of focusing on community, your local, like how you're used to communicating, you learned in school or what you learned in your community or on your local travel, you'll notice that you don't shine as much as you need to shine to get that motivation you need to get with this placement. So if you got Mars and Leo in the fourth area of life, why would you struggle to take it? And how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you will struggle anytime you're trying to shine when it comes to your career. You will struggle when it comes to shining um when it comes to your long-term goals, just trying to be creative to your long-term goals, or trying to pretty much be all casually and not really, let me see. When it comes to your long-term goals, anytime you focus on this area of life, it's a square. This is why I'm like breaking it down like this. It's a square. So it's a learning process because these are opposite signs. So with that being said, obviously it's a learning process. So if you tell a Cancer they gotta only focus on career, they gotta only focus on their goals. They can't worry about family. They're gonna be like, what? What are you talking about? You get what I'm saying? But anyway, this is Cancer house. So with that being said, if you got Mars in the fourth house, you in Cancer, you pretty much need to get that passion from your family, from what you're familiar with, not your public life, not people at work. You get what I'm saying? You need to be able to relate to your family, nurture your roots, nurture your culture. Oh, what I'm talking about nurturing for? Sorry. We're on Leo. See, this is why I wrote my notes right here so I don't get off track. Sorry about that. So I'm gonna break this down again. If you got Mars and Leo in the fourth house, you wanna to get. So if you got Mars and Leo in the fourth house, why would you struggle to take action, and how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? Anytime you're trying to shine light, shine when it comes to your career, shine when it comes to goal planning, long term goal planning. shine when it comes to your creativity in the work in your public life, you'll notice that you're less motivated. However, if you just focus on um, shining in the areas of your family, being creative with things that you're familiar with, um, and nurturing your family and your roots and your culture, you'll get ideas about your career and what you need to be doing long term for as legacy and all that. You know what I'm saying? So if you got Mars and Leo in the fifth area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? So, um, you would struggle anytime you trying to shine light or take up all the shine when it comes to your network, your associations, who you associated with, social media, um, your goals. Anytime you're just trying to plan goals and you're trying to be the one that shine light on these things, you'll notice that you're less motivated. However, if with this alignment, instead, you need to focus on how you shine, your creative endeavors, leisure activity. Instead of being so logical and scientific, you need to be more casual about how you shine in this world, how you create in this world, how you go about having fun in this world. So if you got Mars and Leo in the sixth area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle anytime you're too dreamy, anytime you're trying to shine light on illusions, delusions, on things that you need to sacrifice, on relating to people when it comes to good trauma, bad trauma, collective consciousness. You'll notice that um you are less motivated. However, to get more motivated, what you'll need to do is you'll need to be able to shine light on the areas of life and take action on the areas of life when it comes to your habits, such as eating habits, your workout habits. You need to shine light and take action on things like your day-to-day routine patterns and things like this. Once you're able to get that down pat, then you'll be balanced and you'll know how to take action. So, if you got Mars and Leo in the seventh area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you execute and remedy this so that you can execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? All right. So, um, you would you would understand and know that you feel less motivated when you have to relate to others, like no, when you're focused on shining as an individual, when you're focused on being the one that's taking up all the shine, similar to how the sun shine on earth, it block all the stars light around it. Once you're in that position in your personal life and you actually trying to take up all the shine, be like one individual that people can't ignore, they have to see, like kind of like a narcissist, you will understand that you're less motivated. But how could you get that passion? What area of life you need to take action in? You need to take action when it comes to one-on-one relationships, relating to others. Instead of taking up all the shine, let them have a little shine. Also, when it comes to fairness, equality, justice, law, shine light on these areas of life because this is how you will get that passion you need. So if you got Mars and Leo in the eighth area of life, you'll know why would you struggle to take action with this alignment, and how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? You will struggle anytime you're focusing on your own values, your own resources, your own appreciations. But how could you get that passion, that motivation? What area of life do you need to take action in? You need to instead focus on other people. You need to be shining light on other people's resources, hidden resources. You need to be shining light on other people crops and resources that will pretty much that you could pretty much share with them. You know what I'm saying? So this area of life is about shared resources, and maybe you could share it in a creative way or shine light on things that's hidden so that they can understand the value of these things. So if you got Mars and Leo and the what is that? What is that? In the ninth area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? So with that being said, you would struggle when you're dealing with, trying to shine in local communities, trying to take action when it comes to local environments, your conscious mind, stuff anybody can learn in books, stuff anybody can learn in school. You get what I'm saying? And also when you try to overshine your siblings. So with that being said, you shine, and when you pretty much travel outside of the things you're familiar with, mentally, physically, spiritually, when you learn stuff outside of school and apply that, you'll notice that you shine. You get what I'm saying? So if you got Mars and Leo in the 10th area of life, why do you struggle to take action, and how to remedy this from a fourth dimensional perspective? Now, with that being said, you would struggle anytime you're focusing on things that you're familiar with. If you're just trying to do stuff based on how you grew up and trying to shine, no, that's not gonna work. You have to go into the public workplace or business place, or you need to focus on legacy, long term building. Shine light on things that need to happen with your legacy. Take action when it comes to goal planning and building stuff from scratch. That way you can shine appropriately. If you got Mars and Leo in the 11th area of life, you why would you struggle to take action, and how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? You would struggle anytime you're focusing on being in the spotlight, being too creative instead of logical and scientific, being too leisurely instead of knowing when to restrict that leisure time. So this is how you would be less motivated. But how do you get that unlimited source of motivation? You simply would just focus on your associations, your networks, you would mastermind with them. Focus on shining on places like social media, social networks. Focus on turning dreams into goals by giving them the deadline, because Saturn rules time. So if you get a dream of time, that's the first step to make that reality. So this area you'll get that motivation by shining light on this area of life. So if you got Mars and Leo in the 12th area of life, why would you struggle when it comes to take action? And how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? You will struggle anytime you focus on being too cynical, being too organized, always having to have a schedule or something, working for other people instead of having your own dreams that you're building. Um, being too logical, being too like hands on. This stuff will make you less motivated. You need to focus on that, because you need to focus on your habits as well. But your habits and all that need to align with your dreams, and this how you will get the motivation you need to get to the next level of life. So that's Mars and Leo through the 12 areas of life. Now we're about to break down Mars and Virgo in the 12 areas of life. All right. So if you got Mars and Virgo, Virgo is pretty much being organized. It represents being organized, being like cynical, focusing on habits. You get what I'm saying? Patterns, which you recognize, having the same routine and pattern, jobs, day to day work, stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? So with that being said, let's just say Virgo rules organization. You get what I'm saying? All right. So if you got Mars and Virgo in that first area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? You struggle anytime you're trying to organize relationships, trying to be fair all the time, trying to be just, focused on equality, focusing on justice all the time, and trying to organize this. That's cool. But you need to get the motivation, the passion, the confidence first. You have to organize stuff in your personal life, your own individuality, and also how you're seen by others to get motivated to do that. If you got Mars and Virgo in the second area of life, um, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you take action from a four dimensional perspective? You struggle anytime you're focusing on organizing other people's resources, organizing other people's assets, organizing other people's values and understanding and trying to structure that. No, no, no. That's how you're gonna slow yourself down. How you need to be to get motivated, you pretty much need to focus on organizing your own resources, organizing your own values, organizing your own assets and money, making sure that in order, then you'll be straight. You'll be able to get that unlimited motivation, that passion you need. If you got Mars and Virgo in the third area of life, why would you struggle when it comes to taking action? And how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? You will struggle anytime you're focused on organizing some far away travel. You're trying to expand mentally and physically and spiritually outside of your day to day routine, pattern, structure, or day to day tasks. Anytime you focus on that, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna notice that you're less motivated. However, since you have Mars and Virgo in the third house, you need to be organizing your local community, organizing your thoughts in your conscious mind, organizing how you communicate them thoughts to other people, organizing and understanding where stuff at in your local environment so that you can pretty much execute in different marketplaces. Or if you just wanted to be a consumer in these marketplaces, knowing where stuff at, discounts and stuff like that. This is how you would get motivated. All right. So if you have Mars and Virgo in the fourth area of life, why would you struggle when it comes to taking action? And how could you execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? You would struggle anytime you're worrying about organizing your career, organizing your public life and how people see you outside of just your individual life. Anytime you're hyper focused on organizing like goals long term or legacy, it's cool. You always have to focus on these things. But remember, if you got Mars and Virgo in the fourth area of life, you're supposed to be focusing on things that's familiar, like organizing your private life. You're supposed to be organizing things that you're familiar with, and you're supposed to be familiar with how your family organized things growing up so that you could keep that same routine and pattern. You'll notice that you have more motivation and passion when it comes to these things as well, like organizing your family diet, your family workout routine, pattern, and schedule. This is how you can get motivated. So if you got Mars and Virgo in the fifth area of life, if you got Mars and Virgo in the fifth area of life, um, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? So you would struggle anytime you're focusing on organizing groups, organizing your network, masterminding, trying to be the one that's like planning everything and all that. That's cool, but you're gonna notice that you're less motivated. How could you get that unlimited passion so that you can execute from a fourth dimensional perspective? What you have to do is you have to organize things like casual events, leisure activity. You have to be able to like express yourself based on your patterns, based on your routines. Once you're able to do that, you'll know like, okay, I'm on my own time. I can be creative and I don't have to worry about anyone else. I can shine how I want to. I can organize things how I want to. I can do things casually and leisurely, and I can focus on things like that. So if you got Mars and Virgo in the sixth area of life, this is Virgo house. So anytime you're too dreamy, anytime you're focused on illusions, anytime you're too stuck in drowning in trauma, good trauma, bad trauma, anytime you're trying to connect with people and emotion from an emotional standpoint, like from a collective conscious standpoint, and be all cynical and trying to like fix these people, places, and things based on their habits, you'll notice that you're less motivated. You need to be focused on your own routine, your own job, organizing your own schedule, your own eating habits, your own workout habits, then you'll get that motivation you need. If you got Mars and Virgo in the seventh area of life, what you'll notice that You'll struggle when you're dealing with trying to just focus on your own individuality, focus on your own personality. And anytime you're focusing on how you're seen when it comes to others from outside looking in, how they see you personally, you'll notice that you're less motivated. What you need to do is you need to pretty much organize your one-on-one relationships. Make sure that you understand how the law works, how to be fair in the one-on-one relationships, how to pretty much make sure both of y'all have the same habits or similar habits, and organize these things so that things can be healthy. If you got Mars and Virgo in the eighth area of life, you might notice that you struggle anytime you focus on other people. I mean, anytime you focus on your own values, anytime you focus on your own money, anytime you focus on your own appreciations and trying to organize these things, you're going to notice that you don't move as fast and you're not as motivated. What you need to do is you need to focus on organizing shared resources, shared appreciation, shared values, shared assets. Let's say if you and your family owned a farm or a business, you would be the one that's organizing these. And when you're organizing it, you will get that you will get motivated. You get what I'm saying? If you got Mars and Virgo in the ninth area of life, you might notice that you struggle when it comes to trying to organize local communities, trying to communicate with people, um, and it's just going over their head. You get what I'm saying? Um, you might notice that you're trying to be organized and small, like you're dealing with mundane conversations, you're dealing with local travel, trying to organize your schedule in your local environment. You might notice that you're less motivated. If you have Mars and Virgo in the ninth house, you need to be organizing like international travel. You need to be organizing and being on point when it comes to expanding mentally, physically, and spiritually. You need to be making sure that you can understand and organize things that you can't really learn in school so that you can get the hang of things. This how you get motivated if you have this alignment. All right. So if you have Mars and Virgo in the 10th area of life, you might notice that you feel less motivated when you have to organize things that you're familiar with. It might seem redundant. You have to like focus on habits and things that you're familiar with, or family habits that you have to keep being on point with everybody, making sure they eat the right foods, making sure they work out, making sure their health is on point. That's cool, right? Hold on. Yeah, that's cool. But what you need to do is you need to focus on turning them into your why. Okay, my family is my why. With that being said, I need to focus on organizing my legacy, my family legacy. That's the 10th house. Focus on my career so that I can feed my family. That's the 10th house. So when you're doing these things, you will feel more motivated. If you got Mars and Virgo in the 11th area of life, you might notice you feel less motivated anytime you're trying to take up all the shine, anytime you're trying to be too creative and too leisurely instead of being on a schedule where you have to pretty much have a checklist. You have to focus on your goals when you have this area of life. You can't be just going out every weekend and having fun. That's cool if you had it, and if you had this alignments in reverse. But you need to pretty much create limitations and restrictions on these casual activities so that you can turn that dream into a goal and bring it to life upon your network after organizing things. So if you got Mars and Virgo in the 12th area of life, you would pretty much you'll notice that when it comes to your day-to-day routine, working jobs, being on a specific predictable schedule, you'll notice that it feels a little weird. You can do it. However, how could you get unlimited motivation? What you need to do is you need to focus on organizing your own dreams, not working for someone else. You need to organize your own illusions. You need to pretty much be able to understand what you need to do um from a logical standpoint, but also you need to understand things from like a subconscious standpoint. You need to be able to organize your own subconscious mind thoughts, the thoughts inside your subconscious mind, so that you can understand how life works from a collective conscious standpoint. You know, so that's Mars and Virgo and the sixth area of life, or the sixth house. I mean, that's Mars and Virgo through the 12 houses. So we halfway finished, man. Halfway finished. We almost there. We almost there. We almost there. All right. So next up, we got Mars and Libra through the 12 areas of life. With that being said, the seventh area of life deals with relationships. Anytime you relate to a person, place, or thing on a one-on-one basis, it deals with law, justice, fairness, and linguistics, right? So this is how you would play these energies out, but we're going to explain through the 12 areas of life because everybody have different alignments. So if you got Mars and Libra in the first area of life, why would you struggle to take action? And how could you take action from a fourth dimensional perspective? You would struggle anytime you're trying to. This is contradicting because, all right, let me just say it. Anytime you're focusing on strictly relating to people on a one-on-one basis, you forget who you are. That replaces your identity. This is when you might get a lack of motivation. But anytime that you meet someone and y'all relate and that ties into your identity, like y'all have the similar identity, similar personality, similar way people see you guys, and you guys can relate that way, this is how you get motivated. All right. So if you got Mars and Libra in the second area of life, you might notice you struggle when it comes to sharing resources with others, sharing values with others, sharing valuable things with others. People that have hidden desires that you can't relate to, this is what would demotivate you. But how do you get that unlimited motivation? You literally would just worry about your own assets, your own resources, your things that you appreciate. And then when you can share that with others, when you can relate that to others, this is how you would get motivated. You know what I'm saying? If you got Mars and Libra in the third area of life, um, you might notice you feel a lack of motivation when you have to relate to people outside of environments you are familiar with, when you have to expand mentally, physically, and spiritually, to where as though things are not relatable, because it's more outside of your reach. However, to get motivated and to tap into that unlimited source, um, you have to pretty much relate to people in your community, relate to people at your school, relate to people that have a similar conscious mind as you, relate to people in your local environment, relate to people that communicate similar to you. That's how you will get that unlimited motivation you need. All right, so if you have Mars and Libra in the fourth area of life, you might find that you get lack of motivation anytime you have to relate to others when it comes to business, when it comes to your public life, when it comes to your legacy, and when it comes to building long term. I'm talking 10 plus years. Anytime you have to relate in this area of life, you might feel lack of motivation. But all you do to feel motivated is you relate to things that's familiar with you. You relate to things that's in your private life. You relate to things that that's similar to your upbringing. You relate to things that people, places, and things that have similar cultures as you and similar roots. If you got Mars and Libra in the fifth area of life, you might notice that you're less motivated when you have to relate to groups, mastermind with others, relate on social media. You you might feel lack of motivation when you can't be a unique person inside of this associational group. But then you have to still relate to them. So with that being said, um, how do you get that motivation? You need to pretty much uh be able to equally shine when it comes to your one-on-one relationships. You need to be able to be fair when it comes to your uh when your one-on-one relationships. Give me 1 second. Yeah, you need to learn how to let others shine when it comes to relating to others. You need to learn how to learn how to instead of being too focused on groups and stuff like that. You need to focus on you and another person shining one on one, being creative one on one, and you relate to that person like that. You know what I'm saying? That's how you would get passion. So motivated. Sorry. So Mars in Libra and the sex area of life, you may notice you feel lack of motivation anytime you have to relate to others that's too dreamy, relate to others that's too delusional, illusional, relate to others that's going through trauma, whether that's good or bad. You might feel lack of motivation. But anytime you can relate to people at work, relate to people that have the same schedule as you, relate to people that have the same routines and patterns and habits, like eating habits, workout habits. You might see people at the gym or at the same restaurant or at the same market as you. When you can relate to these people, you'll notice that you get motivated. So if you got Mars and Libra in the seventh area of life, you'll notice that you feel lack of motivation anytime you can't relate. I mean, anytime you try to relate to people, relate your identity to others. Let's put it like that. Anytime you gotta relate your identity to others and compare and contrast and balance things out in your personal life, this is when you may feel a lack of motivation. However, when you can pretty much relate to someone on a one-on-one basis and together you guys work together instead of from an individualistic standpoint, this is how um this is how you would get passion and the motivation you need. All right, so Mars and Libra, the eighth of life, you might notice that you are less motivated when you have to focus on your own resources and relate to people that deal with your values or relate to um and, yeah, relate to things that deal with your values, appreciation, and your assets. That's cool, but you get more motivation when you can relate to people that you're sharing resources with, that you have the same hidden desires as, that you pretty much um you pretty much share resources, values, and appreciation with these people on a one-on-one basis. So if you got Mars and Libra in the ninth area of life, you might feel lack of motivation when you have to relate to people in your community, relate to people when it comes to that consciously, and communicating with people that's using everyday terms and stuff they just regurgitating. But when it comes to your local environment, however, how do you get that unlimited motivation? How do you get that unlimited motivation? All right, so you would get that unlimited motivation by expanding outside of what you're familiar with. You'll see the people you're motivated with. You'll see where it's fair at. You'll see where equality is really at when you see both sides of something. Then, with that being said, this is how you get that motivation. All right, so if you got Mars and Libra in the tenth area of life, you might notice you feel less motivated when you're focused on relating to things that you're already familiar with. If you could simply just focus on relating to your goals, what you're building from scratch, what what you're seeing for publicly, you'll know the people you relate to on a one-on-one basis. You'll know what career to select. You'll know what you need to do as far as legacy building. All right, so if you got Mars and Libra in the 11th area of life, you may notice that you're less motivated when you have to shine and take up all the shine. When you have to be more creative instead of more logical. When you have to go off pure leisure and how you shine rather than real life work like scientific engineering, to-do list, checklist type work. When you get to relate in these type of networks, groups, associations, masterminds, that being said, you won't get motivated. So let's say Mars and Libra in the 12th area of life, you may notice you're less motivated when it comes to being on someone else's schedule and having to relate to people at the workforce, being like have to relate to people that have the same like similar habits as you. You get what I'm saying? You might feel less motivated, right? But how you get more motivation? You have to pretty much relate to people that have the same dreams as you, same trauma that's good and bad, that can understand the emotional collective conscious like you, or just understand what you understand so that you guys can relate to that understanding. All right, so that's Mars and Libra through the 12 areas of life. Now we're going to do Mars and Scorpio in the 12 areas of life. All right. So Scorpio is desires. Scorpio is also shared resources, operating things from behind the scenes, shared appreciation, shared values, shared assets. You get what I'm saying? So if you have um Mars and Scorpio in the first house, you might notice you feel less motivated when you have to um relate to people one on one when it comes to your resources and also your desires versus just locking in on your own individuality, locking in on your own personality and pretty much on what you're seen for. You get what I'm saying? So if you get to focus on that and have your own desires versus relating it to other people, this is how you would get that unlimited motivation. All right. So if you have Mars and Scorpio in the second area of life, you may seem less motivated when you have to focus on other people resources that you have to share, hidden resources. I mean hidden desires that you have with others. Um, shared assets, shared, stuff like that. And how do you get unlimited motivation? You have to focus on your own assets, your own appreciation, your own values, your own desires. And once these things grow and progress and appreciate over time, then you can share them with others. You get what I'm saying? So if you got Mars and Scorpio in the third area, you may notice that you struggle to take action anytime you have to step out your local environment to obtain a desire you have. Anytime you have to expand mentally, physically, and spiritually to get a desire you want or to get a resource that you want to share, it's going to make you feel less motivated. What you need to do is you need to look in your community, look in your marketplace, and understand what resources that's in your marketplace that match your desires that you can pretty much share resources with. All right, so if you got Mars and Scorpio in the fourth area of life, you may notice that you feel a lack of motivation when it comes to your desires, when it comes to your career, your desires when it comes to your long term legacy, your desires when it comes to planning and building from scratch. You might notice that you feel less motivated. However, if you got Mars and Scorpio in the fourth area of life, you might have similar desires as your family, or you might focus on desires that you relate to, that's relative to you. because family rules relative or being relative. Um, you might focus on desires that you can obtain privately or resources that you can obtain with your family and share rather than with the public. If you got Mars and Scorpio in the fifth area of life, you may notice that you feel less motivated anytime you're in a group or association, or anytime you're in a network or you have to bounce ideas off other people, you're gonna feel less motivated. Now, how do you get tap into that unlimited motivation? To be able to shine in a way that you desire, you need to be able to pretty much focus on casual activity, leisure activity, instead of being taking a scientific approach and having to have like an engineer mentality. You want to pretty much focus on having a creator mentality. And when you do this, you will pretty much find shared resources, shared appreciation, shared values, and shared desires, hidden desires, and things that you can operate from behind the scenes from a creative standpoint. So if you got Mars and Scorpio in the sixth house, you might, or the sixth area of life, you might notice that you feel less motivated if you're like dreamy, stuck on illusions and illusions, stuck in past bad and good trauma, trying to relate to others emotionally from a collective conscious standpoint. If you got Mars and Scorpio in the sixth area of life, instead, you need to focus on resources and shared resources, shared appreciation, shared values, and shared desires that you can actually organize and touch and create a schedule around every day. If you got Mars and Scorpio in the seventh area of life, you might feel a lack of motivation if you have to if your whole identity is based on shared resources, shared appreciation, shared values. If your whole identity is based on that, you'll notice that you'll have a lack of motivation. But the minute you're able to relate and have similar hidden desires as others, and be able to share them resources and assets with others, then you'll understand that this is how you tap into that motivation. If you got Mars in in Scorpio in the eighth area of life, you may feel a lack of motivation if you have to only focus on your own uh, resources, your own values, your own assets. The minute you're able to understand what's behind the scenes and focus on shared resources, shared resources instead of your own, shared values instead of your own, shared assets instead of your own, this is where you'll get motivated. So if you got Mars and Scorpio in the ninth area of life, with that being said, you might notice you struggle with taking action when it comes to your local environment, how you communicate with people in your local environment, traveling in your local environment, you get what I'm saying, and marketplaces or markets. You get what I'm saying? So when let's say if you're trying to find resources or hidden resources and it's local, you're gonna be frustrated. You know what I'm saying? What you're gonna notice is that um, you do better when it comes to traveling outside of these communities. You do better when it comes to fulfilling your desires when you're not having mundane conversations. When you do better in foreign marketplaces. So once you understand that, you will be able to take action in this area of life accordingly. If you got Mars and Scorpio in the ninth, hold on, I just went over ninth. On the 10th house, so the 10th area of life, you might notice that you feel lack of motivation when it comes to dealing with what's familiar to you, dealing with things that you had to deal with based on your upbringing. Anytime you have to focus on your own roots, your own culture, to share resources, or to pretty much understand your desires, you may feel a lack of motivation. You get what I'm saying? However, if you focus on your career, longevity, building goals from scratch, and also just how you're seen in the public workplace or business, With that being said, you'll understand your desires more. You'll understand what assets and what's valuable, and you'll understand how to pretty much take action in this area of life. If you got Mars and Scorpio in the 11th area of life, you may notice that you have lack of motivation when it comes to taking up all the shine. You like playing. You'll most likely like playing behind the scenes. Um, when it comes to casual activity or leisure activity, like casual dating or going out to events, this is cool. But to get more motivated, you need to focus on being more of like an engineer perspective, like having checklists, having actual goals that you need to attack and execute on, being part of a network that you guys have shared resources and shared desires and shared assets. So if you got Mars and Scorpio in the 12th area of life, you may notice you feel a lack of motivation when you're on someone else's schedule and you can't really manage no resources or share no resources. You're at a job, you're on a specific schedule versus you you making you're pretty much extracting your own dreams. You're extracting from your own dreams. You are transmuting your own trauma from bad to good. You know, so this is how you would get more motivated to take more action in this area of life. So that's Mars and Scorpio through the 12 areas of life. Next up, we got Sagittarius. Let me get up and start around. But yeah, these videos is long. Well, I'm breaking down everything. So Sagittarius rules traveling mentally, physically, and spiritually. It also rules in traveling outside environments you're familiar with, learn about stuff you can't learn in school, and it's also about, you get what I'm saying, just expanding overall. Just think about expansion. So let's talk about expansion. So if you got Mars and Sagittarius in the first area of life, what you'll notice is that you might struggle when it comes to expanding on your relationships, expanding on being, like focusing on being fair, but in an expansive type of way, being justice, one for all type of mentality. You may notice that you struggle and you're less motivated. You struggle with taking action. However, if you just expand on your personal life, your individuality, and how you're seen through others' perspective, this is how you would get that motivation. If you got Mars and Sagittarius in a second area of life, you may notice that you're less motivated when it comes to expanding shared resources with others, expanding on shared desires with others, expanding on shared values. Instead, you need to expand on things you appreciate, things you value. You know. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me make sure. All right, let me just hurry up. All right. So if you got Mars and Sagittarius in the third area of life, you may notice that you struggle with taking action when it comes to expanding outside of your community. You know what I'm saying? Expanding outside of what you communicate with, expanding outside of what you're constantly aware of. So with that being said, if you strictly just focus on expanding within a community instead of without, expanding your vocabulary and your conscious mind, instead of trying to expand some belief system, you'll understand that this is how you can get motivated. If you got Mars and Sagittarius in the fourth area of life, you may notice that you struggle when it comes to dealing with the public. When it comes to getting motivated, when you got to deal with the public or building something over the long period of time, you might feel less motivated. However, if you just deal with, expanding your private life, expanding what you relate to, expanding your bloodline, your culture, your roots, you'll notice that you're more motivated. If you got Mars and Sagittarius in the fifth area of life, you may notice that you struggle with taking action when it comes to your group thinking, masterminding, expanding your entire network, expanding dreams into goals. However, to make this more of a seamless process, you want to focus on creative abilities. You want to focus on leisure activity. Instead of being so engineer minded, you want to focus on expanding your creativity. You know, if you got Mars and Sagittarius in a sixth area of life, you wanna you want to ex no, If you got Mars and Sagittarius in the sixth area of life, you may notice that you struggle when it comes to um, dreams, illusions, expanding on good trauma, bad trauma, expanding on collecting with the collective conscious. That you may struggle if you go down that path. However, if you just focus on expanding your overall eating habits, expanding your overall workout patterns, your schedule, being able to pretty much have an overall grand, massive schedule to pretty much challenge your organization skills, this is how you would get that motivation. If you got Mars and Sagittarius in the seventh area of life, you may notice that you struggle with individuality. You struggle you struggle with taking action in your personal life, how you come across, and how you are as an individual, because once you start expressing yourself, it would seem too much, like expansive. You get what I'm saying? Or you would perceive it like that. However, to pretty much get that motivation, that fire up under you, you want to relate to others and expand your relationships on a one-on-one basis. You want to be fair, expand on justice, fairness, law, and expand your linguistics as well. So if you got Mars and Sagittarius in the eighth house, you'll notice that you struggle when it comes to taking action uh when you're trying to expand your own assets, expand your own resources and your own values. However, the minute you step outside of yourself and understand that you can share resources, you can expand on your desires, you can expand on your values that you share with others, you'll notice that that you'll get that motivation you need so that you can focus on your own money. If you got Mars and Sagittarius in the ninth area of life, you might notice that you struggle with taking action in an area of life that deals with local stuff like community, commuting, marketplaces, and just communication in general. If somebody just talking about everyday stuff, mundane stuff that you could just easily read in books, and you know that that person just regurgitating information, you might struggle and not get as much of the fire, passion, and motivation that you need. You need to pretty much be able to expand. This is the house of Sagittarius. So you need to be able to expand mentally, physically, and spiritually outside of environments that you're used to. You get what I'm saying? And you also need to pretty much be able to test your knowledge and turn it to wisdom. If you got Mars and Sagittarius in the tenth area of life, you may notice you struggle with taking action when it comes to things that you're familiar with. Um, so what you want to do is you strictly just want to focus on expanding your career, expanding how people see you publicly, expanding um expanding your legacy for your family and what you relate to, expanding just your overall goals. So if you have Margin Sagittarius in the 11th area of life, you may notice that you struggle with taking action when it comes to when you focus on expanding like your overall shine, like when you want to take up all the shine, when you want to focus on creativity instead of planning and expanding your to-do list, your checklist from an engineer's scientific perspective, you may notice that you're less motivated. Instead, you should be expanding your network, your associations, your mastermind. You should mastermind more. You should focus on ideas you can turn into goals. You should take action on, yeah, you should just take action in this area of life. That way you get more motivated. So if you have Mars and Sagittarius in the 12th area of life or the 12th house, you may notice you're less motivated when it comes to your day-to-day schedule and expanding on things like your eating habits, expanding on things like your workout habits, or just working for someone else. You have to do these things because you have to stay healthy. But make sure you're expanding on your own dreams, not working for someone else dream, or make sure that you're expanding on things that you need to have an understanding of so that you can get from point A to point Z. All right. So that's Mars and Sagittarius through the 12 areas of life. Now we're moving on Mars and Capricorn. So Capricorn basically deals with your career, your public life, and how you're seen. It deals with long-term planning, 10 plus years. It deals with goals. And yeah, so we're gonna break down this through the 12 areas of life. So if you have Mars and Capricorn in the first area of life, you might feel lack of motivation when it comes relating to others on a one-on-one basis. If you have to relate your goals, if you have to relate, long-term plan, build with people on a one-on-one basis, you're gonna feel less motivated. Your own character, if you can focus on your own goals individually, focus on how other people see you, like if you know your image, like self development. If you could develop yourself, so when other people see you, they're like, "Wow, this guy's a boss. Wow, this guy's a boss. Wow, this person bossed up." This is how you would get that motivation. If you got Mars and Capricorn in the second area of life, you may notice you struggle when it comes to taking action on sharing resources with others and capitalizing off of that. Building goals with others, that could be a resource. Building a legacy with other people and sharing that, you may notice that you feel a little lack motivation. But when you can focus on building your own assets, if you focus on building your own public image, if you can focus on your own values, this is how you will get motivated. If you got Mars and Capricorn in the third area of your life, you may notice you feel less motivated when it comes to expanding outside of your community you're familiar with. You're trying to build a community outside of the one you're familiar with. You're trying to build a legacy outside of what you know consciously. This makes it everything far reaching. And what you want to do is you just want to dial it back and focus on capitalizing in your own community. Focus on capitalizing when it comes to communicating with others, building your conscious mind up so that you can focus on your goals. So this how you get that. This how you get that motivation you need. So if you got Mars and Capricorn in the fourth area of life, you may notice that you feel less motivated when you have to strictly deal with the public all the time. Instead, you want to dial it down and be more private and capitalize off of what you can get done in your privacy so that you can go to the next level. If you got Mars in the fifth area of life, you may notice that you feel less motivated when it comes to um groups and have to build with groups, have to set goals with groups, have to build legacies and groups and mastermind. No, you want to focus on taking up all the shine and capitalizing and being the face of your business. It's similar to having a business and you being that logo of that business. You get what I'm saying? This is how you would get motivated. So if you got Mars, Capricorn, and the sixth area of life, you may feel less motivated to take action. If you are if you're so if you have to deal with like things that's not reality, illusions, trauma, good trauma, bad trauma, and relating to others on a collective conscious standpoint. That's cool and everything, but you need to focus on your own day-to-day routine. You need to capitalize off your own schedule. You need to pretty much be able to create your own schedule so that you can build a legacy and take action on that. So if you got Mars and if you got Mars and Capricorn in the seventh area of life, what you need to do is you need to, if you got Mars and Aries, if you got Mars and Capricorn in the seventh area of life, you may feel less motivated when it comes to um going in business with other people. No, sorry about that. If you got Mars and Capricorn in the seventh area of life, you may notice you struggle with taking action individually. You may struggle with your personality and relating to others or how people see you. However, you need to take your attention off that area of life because what you need to do is you need to focus on one-on-one relationships, being able to utilize your one-on-one relationships, whether you're relating to a person, place, or thing. utilizing the justice system, utilizing the law. Maybe you're into like corporate law, maybe you're into intellectual property, but being able to utilize it, utilize being fair, to be able to build a legacy that lasts, you know. All right. So if you got Mars and Capricorn in the eighth area of life, you may feel like you may if you got Mars and Capricorn in the eighth area of life, you may struggle with taking action when it comes to your own, like valuing your own resources, when it comes to valuing your own appreciations or valuing your own assets and money. You get what I'm saying? And capitalize off this stuff and being able to build a business out of it. That's cool, but when you're able to dial it up and worry about and capitalize off other people's resources, other people's shared values, other people's assets, then you're able to build a legacy, you know, with that. And then you'll get motivated. So if you got Mars and Capricorn in the ninth area of life, you may notice that you struggle with taking action when it comes to your local environment, um, trying to deal with marketplaces in your local environment, trying to like expand. No, no, deal with marketplaces in your local environment. Trying to capitalize off these marketplaces and negotiate, trying to communicate with people that's not business savvy as you. Um, trying to trying to com- trying to consciously understand things that you're supposed to be utilizing from like a bar standpoint. This is what made you feel less motivated. But you get that motivation by focusing on expand. You need to expand outside of the things you're familiar with, outside of the community you're familiar with, outside of what you're consciously aware of, outside of how you communicate. You need to go out here and test all um, that business all the business skills you have, and you need to apply them overseas or expand mentally, physically, and spiritually. This is how you need to take action. So if you got Mars and Capricorn in the 10th area of life, you may notice that you struggle with taking action when it comes to things you're familiar with and capitalizing off that. You get what I'm saying? What you need to do is instead focus on your career, focus on long term goals, take action when it comes to your legacy, take action when it comes to just how you're seen publicly. So if you got Mars and Capricorn in the 11th area of life, you may notice that you struggle with taking action when it comes to when you're trying to be creative, when you're focusing on leisure activity, when you're focusing on um just instead of having an engineer perspective and an engineer mentality, instead of having like a to-do list and a checklist, if you just try to be creative, or if you just try to be leisurely all the time, you may notice that you don't feel as motivated, as passionate as you need to be. However, if you focus on having that checklist, having goals that you turn from dreams, it was a dream at first, but you gave it a deadline. Focusing on your network, focusing on social network, focusing on group projects. Get what I'm saying? Unfamiliar things. This is what will help you get that motivation you need. You get what I'm saying? If you got Mars and Capricorn in the 12th area of life, you may notice you struggle with taking action when it comes to your day to day routine, your day to day patterns and structures, being organized. However, if you just focus on building your dreams from scratch, if you just focus on building your legacy, if you just focus on um, even capitalizing off illusions, capitalizing off good trauma, bad trauma, you need to learn and utilize all this stuff as a Mars Capricorn as well. All right, so that's Mars and Capricorn through the 12 hours of life. We got two more signs and then we done. We off of Mars. All right, so this is Mars and Aquarius through the 12 hours of life. right? Don't forget to double tap that screen. So, Aquarius is associations you associate with, your network, networking, social network, masterminding, group thinking, being an individual inside that group, turning ideas into goals by giving them a deadline, utilizing time, or in other words, Saturn. Um, so this is what Aquarius stand for. Uh, this is the energies that it plays out. Now we're gonna break down the 12 houses and why you struggle to take action and how you can take action from a fourth dimensional perspective. All right. So if you got Mars and Aquarius in the first house, you may notice you struggle with taking action when you gotta relate to other people on a one-on-one basis. Anytime you gotta relate to others and build like your goals based off of that relationship, you may notice that it slows you down. You're less motivated. Instead, if you can build your own identity, your own individuality, and how you're seen, and base that off being your own unique self, and coming up with goals based on that, this is how you would get that motivation. If you got Mars and Aquarius in the second area of life, you may notice you struggle with taking action when it comes to building an association, building a network, building goals that you transform into, building dreams that you transform to goals. By sharing that with others, this is how it can knock you off and make you unbalanced. Instead, you want to focus on your own resources, your own values, your own appreciations. Then once you have a value for that, maybe you can license it to other people. Maybe you could pretty much sell it. You get what I'm saying? But it's your appreciation, not others. So if you got Mars and Aquarius in the third area of your life, you may notice you struggle when it comes to expanding outside. I mean, struggle with taking action when it comes to expanding outside things you're familiar with consciously. You may struggle with expanding in general. You know what I'm saying? Your network outside of your network you're familiar with in your community. You may struggle when it comes to expanding mentally, physically, and spiritually as well. However, to focus on this, to pretty much enhance this, you want to focus on an area of life that you constantly understand, your community. You want to build a network around that community. You want to pretty much focus on your local environment and how you can build pipelines in this local environment utilizing the network. You get what I'm saying? And building your dreams from that and turning them into goals. So if you got Mars and Aquarius in the fourth area of life, you may notice you struggle with taking action when it comes to your public life, how you seen publicly, and overall your career. So, how do you get that motivation to take action? What you need to do is you would need to focus on what's familiar to you and build a network that's familiar to you based on how your upbringing was. If you got Mars and Aquarius in the fifth area of life, you may notice that you struggle with taking action in the areas in life when it deals with um, goal setting, when it deals with being your own unique individual inside of groups. However, if you can literally just focus on creating that same situation but shining instead, being that group leader, that example, the mascot for the group, then you will understand, oh, okay, I get to do both, even though it's a square, even though it's a learning curve, you can still pretty much play out as the face of this and still benefit from this, and you'll get passionate. You'll get that motivation you need. All right. So if you got Mars and Aquarius in the sixth area, you may notice that you struggle with taking action when it comes to your dreams, your illusions, good trauma, bad trauma. Just understanding how things is when it comes to the subconscious. So with that being said, you get that motivation by creating a schedule, creating a routine, creating a pattern, something that's predictable. But building your goals, like that schedule will help build your goals and help you understand what you need to do to build the right network. All right, and that will motivate you. If you got Mars and Aquarius in the seventh area of life, You may notice you struggle with taking action when it comes to relating to others on a one-on-one basis, especially if they're not a part of your network. You might be less motivated when it comes to um individuality or how other people see you, because when they see you, they might see the group you're a part of, your network you're a part of. You get what I'm saying? Instead, you want to relate to others on a one-on-one basis, and you want to be fair. You want to focus on equality, law, justice. Whatever network you're a part of, you guys have to understand fairness, justice, law, and how to operate as a team on a one-on-one basis. So if you got Mars and Aquarius in the eighth house, you may notice that you struggle with taking action in the area of life that deals with other people resources, other people appreciations. Hold on. If you got Mars and Aquarius in the eighth house, you may notice that you struggle with your own resources, your own appreciations, your own values. As soon as you try to build a network or a goal around these things, you'll notice that you're less motivated. However, if you can think bigger and think about shared resources, shared values, shared appreciations, shared assets, that you can build a conglomerate or build a team around, that you guys can share this from behind the scenes or have the similar desires, you'll notice that you can go further and you'll get motivated. Mars and Aquarius in the ninth area of life. You may notice that you struggle when it comes to taking action in your local community, building a group or a network with your local community, building a group or a network with people that you think communicate similar to you or have a similar conscious mind. Building goals, like just in general, things that you are consciously aware of that your community obviously could provide you. As soon as you try to network with these individuals, you'll notice that you'll feel less motivated. However, soon as you're able to expand outside of what you're familiar with consciously and expand mentally, physically, and spiritually, you'll see on the other side of that rainbow there is people who took that same leap of faith and have the similar belief systems that you can build a network around, build a association around, build goals with. You get what I'm saying? That's how that works. So if you got Mars and Aquarius in the 10th area of life, you may know you struggle with taking actions in areas that you're familiar with. However, if you could just focus on building a network around your career, your goals, how you're seen publicly, and your legacy, you're good. You'll get more motivated. You'll have all the passion you need. Mars and Aquarius in the 11th area of life. You may notice that you struggle with taking action in the area of life that deals with creativity, leisure activity, casual things like dating. You get what I'm saying? Because if you got this alignment, you don't want to be like all out every weekend. You want to focus on having an engineer mind, a scientific mind, where you have to-do lists, you have goals that you have to accomplish, you have a network that you need to build, or a network you need to be a part of, and you need to be an individual inside this network. This will pretty much help you with taking action in life and how you need to take action. So if you got Mars and Aquarius in the 12th area of life, you may notice that you less motivated when you are stuck on a day-to-day routine inside of someone else goals that they built, you know. Instead, you need to be focused on building your own dreams, getting rid of your own illusions, and pretty much understand what you need to sacrifice as a group to pretty much get from point A to point Z. All right, so we're on the last alignment. Pisces do the 12 areas of life. So Mars and Pisces do the 12 areas of life. Pisces is pretty much dreams, illusions, collective consciousness from an emotional standpoint, good trauma, bad trauma. So this is what Pisces is about, relating to others emotionally. All right. So if you got Mars and Pisces in the first house, you may notice that you struggle uh, with taking action when it comes to relating to others. Anytime you have to relate to others on a one-on-one basis, and share your dream with them, you'll notice that you're less motivated. However, if you if you just focus on your own individuality, your own personality, you know what I'm saying, and how you're seen personally, and you can pretty much make your own dreams come true in your personal life, this is what pretty much will get you that motivation you need. So if you got Mars and Pisces in the second area of life, you may notice that you struggle with taking action um in the area of life that deals with shared resources, shared appreciation, shared values, shared asset. You get what I'm saying? In this case, the resource would be a dream. Anytime you got to share that with others, you may notice that you're less motivated. However, how do you spark that motivation inside of you? You have to focus on your own appreciations, your own values, your own assets, your own monies, so that you can fulfill the dream. All right. So if you got Mars and Pisces in the third area of your life, you may notice that you struggle when it comes to expanding um outside of things, expanding on dreams outside of things that you're conscious of, expanding on dreams outside of the community that you're familiar with, expanding on dreams outside your local environment. Anytime you have to expand, you'll notice that you feel less motivated. However, what you need to do is you need to look at your community, look at how you communicate, look at your conscious mind, look at how you travel in your community. How could you build your dreams utilizing all the stuff you're constantly aware of? So, if you got Mars and Pisces in the fourth area of life, you may notice that you struggle with taking action when it comes to your public life. You may come across too dreamy, too illusional, too traumatic. You get what I'm saying? What you want to do is um you want to focus on what am I saying? Oh, yeah, I was saying your career. So when it comes to your career, you may seem too dreamy when you got to get work done. You may seem too out of it, too aloof. However, to lock in on that, what you need to do is you need to focus on what you relate to, what you're familiar with, and build a dream based on that. If you got Mars and Pisces in the fifth area of life, what you need to do is, if you got Mars and Pisces in the fifth area of life, you may notice that you struggle when it comes to your associations, who you associate with, your network, social networking, um, being an individual inside them networks, turning dreams into goals. If you just focus on that area of life, you'll notice you have less motivation. However, if you take that same scenario and just pretty much you be the face of that dream, you be the face of that illusion, you be the face of that person that got through that bad trauma and turned into a good trauma. With that being said, you'll notice that you'll shine better and you'll get motivated. So if you got Mars and Pisces and the if you got Mars and Pisces and the fifth, hold on, let me see. I just went over the fifth house. All right, if you got Mars and Pisces in the sixth area of life, what you need to do so far as if you got Mars and Aries in the sixth area of life, you may notice that you struggle with taking action when it comes to if you stuck in your head all the time, if you too focused on a dream, that's cool. I know this is a contradiction. However, it's a square. You got to learn how to operate with it. So, with that being said, if you got Mars and Pisces in the sixth house, you may struggle when it comes to your dreams, your illusions, good trauma, bad trauma, collective conscious, and relating to this as a collective. Now, with that being said, you need to get out of your head and and organize these things. Organize it to where as though your dreams is not just dreams. It's something you're working on every day at a certain time, at a certain schedule, in a certain pattern. You get what I'm saying? Just organizing everything. And this is how you can get passionate and motivated about this stuff. So if you got Mars and Pisces in the seventh area of life, you may struggle when it comes to taking action in your individual life, your personality, and how you come across as an individual. You know what I'm saying? So anytime you focus on that and trying to focus on your individual dreams, you may notice that you feel less motivated. However, the minute you relate to others and the minute you can like relate your dreams to others, relate how you think things could be fair, you think things could be just, you think things could equal when it comes to your dreams and your illusions and how things need to be transmuted. This is how you get that motivation. So if you got Mars and and Pisces in the eighth area of life, you may if you got Mars and Pisces in the eighth area of life, you may struggle with taking action when it comes to your own resources. Your, and your resources being your dreams, your own values, and your own money. You get what I'm saying? Anytime you focus on that, you might have a lack of appreciation or a lack of motivation. Sorry. However, the minute you can expand broader than that and think like, okay, we can have shared dreams, shared values, shared appreciation, shared assets. This is how you would expand, and that energy would pretty much overall feel like a dream to you, and this will motivate you. So if you got Mars and Pisces in the if you got Mars and Pisces in the ninth house, right, or the ninth area of life, you may struggle when it comes to taking action in local environments, your local community, day-to-day conversation. You get what I'm saying? Your local environment. You may feel too expansive or too disconnected from these people. So every time you explain yourself, you might think like these people don't understand me, or they might think you're too like aloof or too dreamy. You get what I'm saying? So with that being said, you need to just focus on expanding outside of that community, outside of people who understand consciously, and you pretty much need to do that to fulfill your dreams or to pretty much create different dreams. You get what I'm saying? And this will motivate you as well. All right. So if you got Mars and Pisces in the 10th area of life, you may struggle when it comes to taking action when with things you're familiar with, you know. So instead, you want to focus on building your dream career, building your dream legacy. You want to focus on your status and how people see you publicly. You get what I'm saying? As a dream creator or someone who engineered that dream from scratch. Um, so if you got Mars and Pisces in the 11th area of life, you may struggle with taking action when it comes to taking all the shine for your dreams, when it comes to being creative and being like and expressing your dreams through like leisure activity. You may notice that you feel less motivated. However, the minute you're able to apply your dreams to a group, an association, a network, a mastermind, and all y'all make that come true, this is how you get that motivation you need. Last, the last alignment. So if you got Mars and Pisces in the 12th area of life, you may struggle when it comes to taking action um on your day-to-day routine, your habits such as your workout habits, your eating habits, your job. You know what I'm saying? This is our life. You may struggle with getting that motivation. You know what I'm saying? But to balance everything out from a fourth dimensional perspective, you specifically need to make sure your dreams align with your schedule. You need to make sure your dreams, your illusions, your good trauma, your bad trauma, your collective consciousness from like an emotional standpoint all fits within like an organized schedule. It's a square, so it's a contradiction. But if you learn how this alignment works, you'll be able to unlock that motivation. You know what I'm saying? That unlimited passion you need to go to A to Z. All right, so that's Mars placements through every zodiac um placement, and then also every area of life. So if you guys want any consultations, just click the link book a one-on-one call. We'll find out where you belong. You get what I'm saying? Far as what package you need, or if you just need a consultation call, if you want me to go over your alignments, go ahead and book a one-on-one call. You get what I'm saying? But we just went over you get what I'm saying, why you struggle to take action and how to take action from a fourth dimensional perspective, utilizing macro pattern recognition, which is also known as astrology. So I'm gonna read these comments and we're gonna finish up. You get what I'm saying? So we went through, for you guys that just got in here, we pretty much went through every astrology sign, Mars through every astrology sign, and we went through every area of life. So I don't have to make no more videos on Mars. However, if you guys want a consultation, just book it and we'll get it done. So let me answer these questions because we're pretty much about to be finished in the next 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, guys. So let me see. Let me answer these questions. What we have here. Bro, can you do a favor? What is the favor? He is not a Bisha. He's American. Yep, I'm American. Alignment. Yep, I was talking about astrology alignments. I'm not a Bisha. I'm 100% American. However, I love Ethiopia. Someone said, "Don't worry, I'll help you." Okay. You might be talking about someone else. What else? Someone commented Ethiopian flag. Yep, Ethiopia is great. Check out. Let me stream. The stream is lagging. I'm gonna get a hotspot so it don't lag anymore. We just reading over the comments and then we're about to be done. Hey bro, where you from? Like I said, I'm from America. Somebody said warm greetings from the Arctic Circle in Sweden. Popping up to random people's streams to say, you love them because it matters. I appreciate that. And the last person said hi. That's all the comments, bro. Make sure the next time instead of comment random stuff, comment chart, natal chart, so I can read them at the end. But that's it. This was a nice live. Next we either have, so we went over Mars through all the zodiac signs and all the placements and all the areas of life. We went through the sun in another video. We went through Mercury, how you think. I think next we either gonna do Venus or Mars. So I'll pretty much keep you guys up to date. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. So every time that I go live, you'll see when I go live, and then you'll be able to tune in.